Drinking alcohol, smoking, and drug use are harmful to health.
The keycard was a thin rectangle of white plastic. No logo, no magnetic strip visible, just the embossed numbers, 313, in a font so plain it looked typed. I found it in the left pocket of my jeans when I reached for my phone at 2:47 a.m. in the lobby of the Grand Meridian Hotel, a place I had never intended to stay longer than one night. I was only here because the airport lost my luggage, and the last flight to Denver had already left. The clerk, a woman with a name tag that read Marisol, had given me room 812 with the weary efficiency of someone who had seen too many stranded travelers. She never handed me a second key. I turned the card over in my fingers. It felt warmer than body temperature, as though it had been sitting under a lamp. The numbers glowed faintly, not enough to read by, but enough to notice in the dim lobby light. I told myself it was a trick of tired eyes. I told myself a lot of things that night. The elevator bank was empty except for the soft chime that announced an arriving car. The doors slid open on their own. No one inside. The panel showed floors 1 through 22, plus M for mezzanine and B for basement. No 3, no 13, nothing between. I stepped in anyway, because the alternative was walking back to the front desk and explaining a key card I couldn't account for. Marisol had already disappeared into the back office. I pressed 8. The button lit, then dimmed. The elevator didn't move. Instead, the panel flickered. A new button appeared where none had been. 313. It wasn't backlit like the others. It was the same matte white as the keycard, the numbers pressed into the plastic like a brand. The doors closed. The car began its ascent with a lurch that pressed my stomach into my spine. Numbers climbed, 4, 5, 6, then skipped to 9, 10, 11. At 12, the lights inside the car dimmed to a bruised purple. The floor counter froze. A soft click, like a tongue against teeth, came from the speaker grill. The elevator kept rising. I felt it in my knees long before the panel acknowledged the impossible floor. When the doors opened, they did so without the usual ding. Just the hush of metal on metal and a breath of air that smelled of wet stone and something metallic, like a coin left on a radiator. The hallway beyond was not the Grand Meridian's. The carpet was the color of dried blood, not the hotel's tasteful charcoal. Sconces shaped like upturned hands held bulbs that flickered at 60 beats per minute, my resting heart rate, I realized with a chill. The walls were paneled in dark wood, but the grain moved when I wasn't looking directly at it, swirling into knots that resembled eyes. Room numbers marched in perfect order: 300, 301, 302, up to 312. Then nothing. A blank stretch of wall where 313 should have been. The keycard in my hand pulsed once, like a heartbeat. I walked. My shoes made no sound. The air grew thicker, as if I were descending instead of walking straight. At the end of the hall, the wall dissolved into a single door. No number, just a brass slot at eye level. I slid the keycard in. The door opened inward on silent hinges. Room 313 was larger than the building's footprint allowed. The ceiling soared into shadow. I couldn't find where it ended. A 4-poster bed dominated the center, its posts carved to resemble femurs. The sheets were the same white as the keycard, but stained with faint rust-colored rings that looked disturbingly like dried blood, diluted by years of washing. A dresser stood against the far wall. No, not against a wall. The room had no corners. The walls curved gently, like the inside of a nautilus shell, and the wallpaper was a repeating pattern of the hotel's floor plan. Every room labeled, every corridor mapped. except for 313, which appeared as a black hole in the center of every diagram. On the nightstand, a rotary phone the color of old bone, its cord coiled like an intestine. Next to it, a Gideon Bible open to Revelation 3:13. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. Someone had underlined ear in red so many times the paper had torn. I should have left. The door was still open behind me, but the hallway beyond had vanished. Where it had been was only more curving wall. The pattern of floor plans shifting now. Rooms sliding like tiles in a puzzle. My own room 8 to 12 appeared briefly, then folded into itself and was gone. The phone rang. 1 ring. 2. On the third, I picked up, static, thick as cotton. Then a voice. Mine, but older, the vowels stretched by decades of disuse. You're early, it said. Check-in isn't until the body cools. I dropped the receiver. It didn't fall. It hung in the air, spinning slowly, cord writhing. The voice continued from the room itself now, from the walls, the bedposts, the hollows of the femurs. We've been waiting. You always come back. I backed toward where the door had been. My hand found the brass slot again, but the keycard was gone. In its place, my fingers closed around something soft and wet. I looked down. A human ear, severed cleanly, still warm. The lobe was pierced with a tiny gold hoop I recognized. My mother's, lost when I was 9. I screamed and flung it away. It landed on the bed and burrowed into the sheets like a beetle. The light steadied to a surgical white. The room rearranged itself. The bed shrank to a metal gurney. Restraints dangled from the sides, leather cracked and stained. An IV stand rolled forward on silent casters, bag filled with something viscous and black. The wallpaper peeled away in strips, revealing stainless steel beneath. I was in an operating theater now, but the scale was wrong. Ceiling still lost in darkness, floor sloping toward a central drain that gurgled softly. A figure stood at the foot of the gurney. It wore a surgeon's gown, but the fabric was the same blood-red carpet from the hallway, stitched into shape. Where the face should have been was only a smooth expanse of skin. No features, no seams. It raised a gloved hand. In it, the keycard. The numbers 313 now dripped like wet paint. You left something behind last time, the figure said. The voice was Marisol's, but filtered through water. We kept it safe. It gestured. The wall behind it rippled and became a window. Beyond, the lobby of the Grand Meridian, frozen at 2:47 a.m. Marisol at the desk, mid-sentence, mouth open. Travelers suspended mid-stride. A digital clock on the wall blinked. 2:47, 2:47, 2:47. But in the reflection of the window, I saw myself standing in the elevator, keycard in hand, doors just beginning to close. The surgeon thing stepped closer. You check in, you check out, you check in again. The room remembers. I ran, not toward the window. That was only image, but around the gurney, past the IV stand which clattered after me like a loyal dog. The floor tilted. I slid toward the drain. It was wider now, a mouth ringed with porcelain teeth. I caught the edge of the gurney, hauled myself up. The restraints snapped around my wrists before I could let go. The surgeon leaned over me. Its blank face split open, not into a mouth, but into a key slot. "Insert payment," it whispered. I thrashed. The leather cut. Blood, mine, dripped into the drain and was eagerly drunk. The room shuddered. Somewhere, an elevator chimed. The restraints loosened, not from my struggle, but because the gurney was dissolving, metal flaking into rust that became carpet fibers. I fell through, landed hard on the blood-red runner of the hallway. The door to 313 stood open behind me, but the room beyond was empty, just bare subfloor and dangling wires. The surgeon was gone. The ear was gone. Only the keycard remained, now in my hand again, numbers crisp and new. The hallway stretched both ways, infinite. Room numbers climbed into the thousands, then reset to 300. I walked. My legs moved without permission, carrying me past doors that opened as I approached. Inside each, a snapshot. Room 305, a child's birthday party, balloons deflated, cake untouched, a single candle guttering. The child, me at 7, stared at the door with eyes too old for the face. Room 308, my wedding night, but the bride was faceless, veil stained with the same rust rings. She reached for me with hands that ended in keycards. Room 311, my mother's funeral, the casket open. Inside, not her body, but the lost earring, gleaming. I kept walking. The keycard grew hotter. At the end of the hall, or the beginning, I couldn't tell, was the elevator. The panel showed only one button, 313. I pressed it. The doors opened immediately. Inside, mirrors on every surface. Not reflective glass, but black, like obsidian. My reflection was missing. Instead, the mirrors showed the operating theater, the birthday party, the wedding, the funeral, all playing simultaneously, soundless. In each scene, a version of me lay on the gurney, sat at the table, stood at the altar, wept over the casket. And in each, the surgeon thing leaned close, slot face opening. The elevator began its descent. Numbers fell, 312, 311, 310, then jumped to 400, 500, 600. The mirrors cracked, shards floated, each showing a different year. 1993, me losing the earring in a hotel pool. 2001, me checking into the Grand Meridian for the first time, age 22, on a business trip I don't remember taking. 2015, me standing in this same elevator, keycard in hand, eyes wide. The car jolted to a stop. Doors opened onto the lobby. 2:47 a.m., Marisol, mid-sentence. Travelers frozen. But now I saw the details I'd missed. Every person held a white keycard. Every card read 313. Their eyes tracked me, pupils dilated to pinpricks. I stepped out. The carpet squelched. My shoes left prints that filled with blood. Marisol's mouth moved, but no sound emerged. She extended a hand. In it, my luggage tag, the one lost with my bags. The name on it was not mine. It read, Occupant. Behind me, the elevator doors closed. The panel inside showed the car descending past B, past sub-basements I hadn't known existed, numbers ticking into negative. 1, 13, 313. I turned back to the lobby. The frozen travelers blinked in unison. The clock flipped to 2:48. Time resumed, but wrong. People moved in stutters, like film with frames missing. Marisol's voice emerged, but backwards. Nedi serb, et ma, e, nedi hnit, on serraid. I ran for the revolving front doors. They spun, but I stayed in place, the lobby rotating around me. The keycard burned. I looked at it. The numbers had changed. 3:13 a.m., a countdown. I hurled the card away. It embedded itself in the carpet, upright, quivering. The lobby dissolved into static. When it reformed, I was in room 313 again, but different. The bed was made with hospital corners. A suitcase, mine, sat open on the luggage rack. Inside, clothes I didn't pack, folded with precision. On top, a note in my handwriting. Don't lose this one. You, last time. The phone rang. I didn't answer. It kept ringing, a sound like bones knocking. I went to the window. Outside, not the city, but the hallway. Infinite doors. And in the distance, another me walking toward the elevator, keycard in hand. I understood then. The room wasn't a place. It was a reservation, permanent. The keycard wasn't access. It was the bill. The ringing stopped. Silence, thick as velvet. The door to the hallway opened on its own. The surgeon thing waited, slot face patient. Checkout is at 3:13, it said, but you never leave. I looked at the clock on the nightstand. 3:12 a.m. The second hand crawled. I sat on the bed. The sheets were warm. The rust rings were fresh. I lay back. The restraints were already around my wrists, soft as silk. The IV stand rolled close. The bag was empty now, but that was fine. They'd fill it with me. The clock ticked to 3:13. The elevator chimed somewhere far below. Another guest arriving early. The surgeon leaned in. "Welcome home," it whispered, and the slot closed over my eyes. In the lobby, Marisol handed a keycard to a traveler who looked exactly like me, but younger. "Room 313, she said. "Enjoy your stay." The elevator doors opened. The panel showed the button waiting, patient as bone. The traveler stepped in. The doors closed. The ascent began.